Abby, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Could you give the listeners a kind of a brief introduction about who you are? It's your story.
Of course. So, my name is Abby Cunningham. I am the project manager for Pest Free Howick Ward. I have somewhat recently, last year finished my Masters of Science, where I was looking at the condition and the use of green spaces in primary schools. My background is a mix of zoology, animal welfare, conservation, and ecology. It's a bit of a melting pot of all things environment. Born in Christchurch, raised in Auckland, and yeah.
Cool. And have you got one fun fact about yourself to share with the audience?
The fun fact is that I think I have probably the most diverse and eclectic tertiary background. The last time I checked, I was the only person in Aotearoa with a Bachelor of Arts that majored in classical studies and minored in zoology. It's quite a unique combination. Yeah, and the fact that I've been to the University of Otago, Unitec, and the University of Auckland, all in my, I guess, education background. Yeah.
Cool. Have you got plans to go back and do anything extra?
Oh no, not just yet. A PhD is kind of always on the cards.
Yeah.
I am someone who loves learning, and so the idea of kind of going back and continuing with my master's research is appealing. But for now, I think I'll just work a bit and then I'll reevaluate later on.
Cool. And are you a plants or an animal person? What's your...
I'm a I'm a bit of everything. I was always an animal person, but after my thesis research and the work I'm doing now, I'm leaning a bit more to a plant person, but I'm a bigger picture person. I'm a kind of ecosystem person, I guess. Bit of everything. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And if you had to choose a favorite plant or animal, what would that be?
This is such a hard question, and I knew I had to keep it to a a native plant or animal species. I have to go with the fantail, the piwaka waka. I grew up with the Abigail fantail book, and Abby's short for Abigail, so that was kind of my first, I guess, connection with a native bird species. And I'm also someone that really values kind of recharging my battery in nature. And I find that whenever I go for a walk or a hike, even though I'm on my own, I can kind of look around and either hear or see fantails following me. So it's quite yeah, it would have to be the fantail.
Cool. And you mentioned that it had to be a native species. If it wasn't limited to native, what would you choose?
I've got a real soft spot for the spotted hyena. I spent some time volunteering at an animal sanctuary in South Africa a few years ago now.
Wow.
And yeah, it was just a really cool. Her name was Hurley, and she was just awesome. So that would be up there, but yeah, there's so many.
Wow. That would have been a cool experience.
Yeah, it
Sounds
was
amazing.
incredible.
Cool. So you grew up in Christchurch. Have you got any favorite nature spaces that you frequented as a kid?
We always went to, oh, you're testing my geography now. Hagley Park was quite a common one. Just it was easy for us to access, lots of walks. But yeah, that's kind of all I can really remember. Yeah, we moved when I was around 5.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that was straight to Auckland at 5.
Straight to Auckland.
Yeah.
Yeah, straight to the Big Apple.
Okay,
Um,
so any nature spaces in Auckland then that were...
oh, so many.
Yep.
Yeah, we came out here every now and then. So Maraeai's big one, Shakespeare Park in Whangaparoa, Te Whanganui up north. I actually was a park ranger for a summer a few years ago, so that holds a really special place in my heart. Any of the beaches, I was a water baby. So yeah, anywhere really. It was we would spread the love when I was growing up. We would try go to a different kind of park or reserve whenever we went out.
Cool.
Mm.
And for your friends and family, was it always expected that you would kind of go into working with nature and the environment, or...
Yes, I was the kid that would cry in every Disney movie where an animal died. I would befriend every dog we walked past. I think we always thought that I'd go into veterinary, as I think most young people who have an affinity with animals believe they're gonna be a vet. Unfortunately, year 12 biology showed me that veterinary wasn't in the cards. So I tried out zoology. That was awesome, but wasn't quite right. Animal welfare, and then it ended up in biosecurity and conservation.
Cool.
Yeah.
And have you got any other hobbies or interests outside of working with the environment?
I'm a big reader, so I love, yeah, kind of curling up with a good book. Photography's always been a big interest of mine. And then just, I guess, anything with friends or family, whether that's going for a walk or as we get a bit older, I'm a big fan of a board game night. Um, yeah, just anything with friends and family, I think.
Cool. Yeah, definitely connections with other people is
Yeah.
where it's at. And how long have you been working in conservation?
So for this role, I started in November last year. I've done a little bit of other volunteering. So I was a volunteer at Auckland Zoo in the behavioural enrichment team. I worked, as I said earlier, as a park ranger for a summer. So those were kind of my three big draw cards. A little bit of volunteering and kind of at home backyard trapping. But yeah, still relatively new to the field.
Yep. And it was, I'm guessing, straight out of high school, you went straight into study for this?
Yep, straight into it. I was actually kind of tossing up leaving early. If I was, yeah, kind of wondering if I would do a year 13 or just go straight into studying, because I was just so keen to get on with it. But I decided to stay, finish my final year at high school, and then yeah, there's been no breaks. It's just been, one to the next.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a bit of the opposite, really. I um, completely despised school, I think.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit embarrassing to admit, but I actually failed biology in high school.
Wow.
A bit of a shock to my lecturers and classmates because I did quite well in uni, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, what are your areas of expertise or interest?
Uh, I'm really interested in connecting communities up with nature. I'm a really big fan of advocate, I guess, of science not happening in a silo, and that the only way that we can make any real difference to our environment is to get more people involved, and especially our kids and our tamariki involved. It's such a cliche, but the future's kind of up to our kids, I think really stands. So finding ways to collaborate and to work with people and to kind of all work towards a common goal is a really big passion of mine.
Right.
Yeah.
And did that start with your masters that you were doing?
I think it started a little bit when I did my Bachelor of Arts in Otago, because that was a mix of arts and science. So I kind of juggle the lines between the two, and then yeah, that really kind of pushed when I did my masters and looked at kind of how we're exposing our kids in this and at school to the nature around them, and also how they're being taught to use the space. I know that when I was in primary school we had a beautiful bank of putakawa, but it was all out of bounds. So you can see all the trees, but we weren't actually allowed to go in and kind of interact and connect with nature in the way that I think is really important.
Very cool. And so you've been working with Pest Free Howick since last year.
Yeah.
And did you do any other sorts of roles with the organization before you stepped up to your current role?
No, so I came in quite fresh. I had heard of Pest Free Howick, and I knew some other people that had worked for them previously. So it wasn't an unknown, but yeah, my first sort of relationship with Pest Free Howick came in with this role. Yeah, so I've kind of jumped in the deep end, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah,
And remind me, your role is
project manager.
project manager.
Yeah.
And what does that entail?
So that's a lot of supporting my team. So we've got a team of 5 incredible conservation assistants and conservation coordinators. So just, I guess, providing them the support they need to provide all the projects that they lead. Obviously, there's the paperwork and the health and safety and all that sort of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that I'm kind of responsible for. But yeah, I guess the main one is just supporting the team so that we can get all these incredible projects kind of out into the community. Yeah.
Cool. And what's your favorite thing about this role? What do you enjoy doing the most when you go to work each day?
The diversity, the fact that no 2 days look the same. It's exciting. It keeps me on my toes. It keeps me busy. um, but yeah, the fact that there's so much happening, if I need a day in nature, I can, run a trap line, or I can do something with my hands, or if I need to just kind of sit at home with a cup of tea, there's paperwork that can be doing, or there's planning. If I need to work with people, there's that option. There's just so many different facets of what we do that it's fun and every day is exciting.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how big is this area that is being managed with the Pest Free Howick Ward?
So we operate from kind of the tip of Howick all the way down to Flatbush, East Tamaki, Ormiston area. So it's a huge geographic area. Yeah, we're trying to focus on the significant ecological areas in that space and just get as many traps into backyards as possible.
Right, and that kind of captures a few different suburbs around here, doesn't it? The kind of Howick.
Yes,
uh,
it's huge. Is Howick, Cockle Bay, Pakuranga, Botany, Flatbush,
mm,
Ormiston. It's a huge space, and I think some people get confused because our name is Pest Free Howick Ward, but that's because it's the ward that the Howick Local Board looks after. But I guess if it's easier, people can look at us as Pest Free East Auckland. We operate all the way down. So,
yeah,
yeah.
very cool. And we're currently on kind of the southeast border of that ward, aren't
Mm-hmm.
we? In Mangimangaroa Reserve.
Yes. Yes. So this is such a special location, and it's a reserve that most people who live without Howick or live within Howick are aware of. It's such a good example of an urban green space and why we need to do everything we can to bring more urban green spaces to our kind of city. And I would like to acknowledge the mana whenua of Mangamangaroa, so Ngāi Taiki Tamaki. Pest Free Howick do work with Ngāi Taiki Tamaki on a number of sites within the Howick Local Board, and given the space that we are, and especially because we're here today, I would like to acknowledge the cultural significance of Mangamangaroa to the people of Ngāi Tai.
Very cool.
Okay.
And there is another group that's also kind of specifically focused on this reserve, isn't there?
Yes, so they have, there is a volunteer group called Friends of Mangamangaroa that do incredible work here at, replanting, education, pest trapping. Yeah, I believe they're soon celebrating their 25th year. So, some incredible people there that have, given a lot of their time and energy into looking after this area.
Very cool. Cool. And there's a little bit of collaboration that goes on between, right? But then kind of it's on
Yeah,
the very border, so it's
we're so lucky that across East Auckland there's so many different environmental organisations, and Pest Free Howick likes to kind of, I guess, bridge a few gaps between those organisations and help out where we can. We are very lucky, Pest Free Howick, to have the support of the Howick Local Board, who have been, such strong supporters and I guess motivators for the work that we do. And so we just like to help out as many other people as we can with that support.
cool.
Yeah.
And how long has Pest Free Howick Ward been running for?
So we were established in 2017, so still relatively new, but we've definitely, I think, found our strides now, and we're very well established. I like to believe that we are quite a household name and that we are quite well known across Howick.
And what are the kind of the key tasks, everyday tasks of the volunteers of Pest Free Howick Ward?
So we've got some core projects that we like to do, but they, run for certain times each year. The big two things that we are always doing is our backyard trapping. And so that's where our volunteers come in. So we provide free rat traps to basically anyone who will take one across Howick. And it's up to those residents to kind of set those traps, maintain them, report any catches to us, and it helps us get a really good, I guess, blanket of pest trapping across Auckland. So we've got hundreds of traps in backyards, and each one of those families is a volunteer essentially. Then we've also got our pest plant side of things, and for that we do run we run our moth plant competition. So I guess in a way, each of those school age teams that competes can, by extension, be called volunteers for Pest Free Howick because they are helping us remove each of those moth plants.
Yep.
And our conservation assistants also will remove as many moth plant and rhamnus and other weed species that we can at all times. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. So kind of pest mammals and also pest plants. That's
Yeah.
kind of
So
the
those
main
yeah,
targets.
those are the two. And then I guess we've always got our community engagement and our school engagement. A strong point of Pest Free Howick Ward is our collaboration with schools, and we do that with the support of Auckland Council and Sustainable Schools, especially within Auckland Council. As far as I'm aware, we are one of the few environmental organisations to provide a cadetship in primary schools, which we are really proud of. Yeah, it's such a great way to educate and to empower our younger generation. And I know that especially, at the moment, eco anxieties are quite high. So providing that generation with, I guess, the tools and the means to contribute and to do their part can kind of alleviate some of that anxiety. And yeah, so we're really proud of our connections and our collaborations with schools. Yeah.
Cool. Amazing. And is this work in the schools, is that one of the bigger focuses for Pest Free Howick? Is there quite a few schools in the area that are
Yeah, so we have the schools, I mean, I'm biased, but the schools in Howick are so environmentally charged and so, I guess, passionate about doing their part. So yeah, we work with basically as many schools as we can. We've got, our cadetship at the moment, which has 9 primary schools and 1 intermediate school currently. But we've hit so many other schools. We've got our carbon calculating and waste minimization projects that we also offer.
cool?
Nigel is our expert in all things carbon calculating, that side of things. So we've got some schools that are really committed to reducing their carbon footprint. And then we get so many schools on board for the moth plant competition each year. Yeah, they love getting involved and all the kids love it. Yeah, I think it's a point of the year that everyone looks forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that targeting the schools is quite a good strategy because those kids will go home and tell their parents to get traps in the backyards and
Yes, exactly. It is. Sometimes it's hard to connect with that kind of middle-aged group of people. They've got young families, they're working full time. Some of them just don't have that extra energy to put into kind of not looking after the environment, but any sort of environmental endeavors. But if we can kind of get the kids really excited and then, they go home and tell their whānau about it. And that's kind of how we get that momentum rolling.
yeah. And so with the community outreach, like obviously schools is a big thing.
Hmm.
You've got the cadetship, so
Hmm.
that's particularly in the schools.
Yeah, so that's only in the schools. So
Yeah,
we run 3 or 4 sessions. We include a historical overview of mainly place-based stuff. So looking at the type of bird species that were here, a few 100 years ago before they've gone either extinct or have moved to the pest-free islands. Then moving on to, kind of why we need to focus on our pest animals. Yeah, it is a tough topic for some people, and we like to focus more on the end outcome, and that's, bringing birds back to our backyards and to our spaces rather than the mechanism, which is the kind of trapping and the killing side of things.
right. And another thing that Pest Free Howick Ward is
Hmm.
doing is the Pestival. Is that a
Yes.
yeah?
So that kind of ties into, it's both school and community outreach. So we're trying to aim for 2 to 4 a year, and we kind of tag it on to the end of the cadetship. So we'll typically go to a school that has just completed the cadetship. So a part of the festival is kind of handing out certificates to those students that have participated. And then we run, it could be some guest speakers. Our last festival, we had people talking about the volunteering that was happening in the area. We have speakers from other environmental organisations like Trap Library East Auckland. It's a way for the students who've just performed or participated in the cadetship to celebrate, but also a way to engage the wider community. So it's both for schools and the community that they're in to get involved.
Cool. You mentioned Trap Library.
Yes,
What is
yeah.
that?
So it's a very similar organisation. They are focused on mustelid and possum trapping. So they very similar to us. We hand out rat traps the Trap Library East Auckland will loan out mustelid and possum traps, but they do some incredible work. Yeah, so they operate in the same area that we do, but just focusing on that mustelid and possum side of things,
Cool.
so that we can just look after the rats.
Yeah, I guess kind of specializing in is probably
Yeah,
quite a good idea.
it's a good way to divvy up them, because I think it is, not one trap kind of fits all, and it's hard enough getting rat traps and mouse traps out there, but to kind of also tag on the possum and the stoats and everything. So by kind of splitting up, it lets us hit a wider range of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that final goal of Pest Free 2050,
Yeah.
what's going to happen with Pest Free Howick once that comes around? What's the...
Well, hopefully we are Pest Free 2050, and then we can focus all of our efforts on pest plants, which are, I think, the
never
one
ending.
it's the never ending. Yeah, they just don't stop, and people are on, I guess maybe more aware of the pest animals, but I think it's increasing their education and that awareness around the pest plants that, are all around, would be our next big. We'll just focus all the energy on that.
Yeah.
Pest Free Howick Ward's 6 people, but if we can educate, 600 people, all of a sudden the amount of work that could be done increases, immensely. So I think the education's a huge part, and especially, I mean, we're both nature people, but most people will look at a plant and not necessarily differentiate from a pest and a native plant. And we do have some really incredible native species. So yeah, getting people invested in protecting those ones, I think, is really important, and giving them the tools and the kind of support to be able to remove any weeds and identify them. And I think it's really important.
And is there any cool technologies that you're using to achieve these goals?
There is one, actually. So unfortunately, a lot of the work we do, well, not unfortunately, but manual labour is the best way to remove a lot of these pests. We are trialling an AI system. So for our moth plant competition, all the teams that participate have to submit photos of the pods that they've collected, pods and small vines. And it is an incredibly laborious job to kind of confirm that the photo a team has submitted with 962 pods contains 962 pods. I mean, our community is very honest, so 99.9% of the time they're bang on. But we are, Anne Zhang, who's the daughter of one of our team members, who's incredible, is building up a AI system that can basically confirm the number of pods in a photo.
Right.
So that's really cool, and I believe it's one of the first. So she's a bit of a pioneer in this, but so hopefully we're going to have that up and running next year, because it's a tedious job to sit there and count the number of moth plant pods in a photo. So that's really cool and really exciting, and
Yeah, it sounds like something that would be good to get your hands on for those jelly bin in a jar guessing.
Oh, yes, it would be.
Are there any future plans for Pest Free Howick Ward that...
So we are in the process of building up a more robust volunteer program. The amount of conservation work that happens across Aotearoa hugely relies on volunteers, and we do have people in our community that want to do more. So we're building up a bit more of a robust volunteer program, and so that people can volunteer how they'd like to volunteer. I mean, I don't think any 2 volunteers are the same. People come in with different time availability, different skill sets. So finding ways that we can incorporate basically anyone who wants to be involved into the project is kind of the next big thing.
Yeah. Cool. Kind of deciding who fits where and that sort of thing.
And having things kind of ready to go. So we've got, a few trap lines that are inactive at the moment. So that's like an easy one that we can get someone to pick that up. But finding, I guess if we wanted to do any more planting or regeneration, where would that happen and how would that look? And just kind of the background preparation that goes into some of these things that I think people forget. You can't just kind of rock up somewhere with some plants and be ready to pop them in the ground. There's a bit of administration that goes on behind the scenes, but getting that all ready to go.
Cool. And is there some planting that goes on with your organisation as well then?
Yes, so we do our one of our core projects is called, and it's far too long the name, but it's called the Native Trees for Native Birds project in schools.
Right.
So that was one of the projects actually that really caught my eye when I applied for this role because it ties in really nicely to my master's. It's providing schools with the support and the trees to basically plant up their local ngahere and provide some space in the future for our native birds to kind of come back from our pest-free islands and just spread out the green spaces in our urban areas and also give the schools that nature connection to our native species. So it's happening actually currently. We're in the process of kind of making some planting plans for 10 schools across Howick. So we do that each year and it's always really enjoyable and the schools get on board and the kids kind of we don't do the planting. The students do the planting, so we kind of get them physically involved.
Yeah.
So that's always really good.
Cool. That's really important, I think, having kind of native forests somewhere where the children are most days, because I guess in the urban areas there's not really much space for
No,
forests.
it's so important. I mean, it's every day or every weekday, our kids are going to schools, and they don't have to just be one thing. I was always, in my research, it was that schools can be multifunctional spaces. We're not getting rid of schools anytime soon, so they're going to, always going to be in our urban areas. So if we can kind of make them both places of, learning and education and kind of green spaces in urban areas, I think it's a win-win for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can imagine that all of this it's not cheap.
No.
So
No, it's unfortunately, it is tough and there are financial constraints. And as I said earlier, we're so lucky that we have the support of the Howick Local Board. They are really, they're really incredible. And we definitely couldn't do what we do without them. We're very lucky that we have the support that we do because I don't think we'd be able to do half of what we do without it.
And are they offshoot from the council? Is that?
Yeah. So I imagine they get, funding from Auckland Council to Howick Local Boards. They are our main supporter. We do get some other support financially from other kind of departments in Auckland Council.
Could you do with more money? What would be the
Absolutely.
what would that enable?
It would enable more of everything that we're currently doing. If we had more funding or we had some other funders, it would mean we can get some more trees to plant both in schools and kind of in reserves if we wanted to do that. Some more traps. We're always needing more traps because we hand those out for free because we don't want a financial burden or a block to be a restraint for people backyard trapping. It would enable more of everything, really. It would just allow us to grow that bit further. I mean, we're doing good. We're doing amazingly, but it's always good to have a bit more.
Yeah. Is there any kind of unique challenges to doing pest control in an urban environment?
Yes. I think the challenge, it's both a challenge and a strength, is just the people side of it. And we are incredibly lucky in Howick that we have such a diverse cultural background of our people. It's a beautiful kind of melting pot of different cultures, but it is also quite hard and it is a challenge to connect with everyone. And one way that we have kind of overcome this challenge is we've really reached out and connected to our Chinese community and our new migrant community and finding ways to kind of bridge both the language gap, which is a really tough one, but also that cultural gap and getting people really invested in the New Zealand kind of environment. It is a hard one, but it is one kind of worth fighting for because I think it's that people connection. It's that kind of everyone working towards the same goal.
Do you get people that are supportive of the project but just say not in my backyard?
Yes, absolutely. We get people saying, they agree we need to get rid of pests and everything, but that they don't want the trap in their backyard. It's a little bit of a catch-22, it is something that will kill animals. We do provide all of our traps into a wooden box so that people that have got dogs and cats in their backyard, they're not going to get into the traps. It's designed to just catch our target species, but it is something that kills other things. So I know that is an ethical issue for some people to kind of overcome, but we just really try and push the fact that it's for that end result. It's to look after our birds. It's to protect our native flora and fauna. And unfortunately, the mechanism is the mechanism. It's the way we have to do it.
Yeah, we can't just kind of round them all up and take them somewhere else, can we? Are there any kind of important successes or milestones that have been achieved in the project so far?
So I would say, the successes are definitely the moth plant competition. So we've run that every year, and it continues to grow and kind of gain momentum. So this year, glad I have this in front of me, the teams that competed in the competition, so they removed 68,548 pods of moth plants and 59,559 small vines. So, the first success is that that students and kids are targeting small vines as much as they are pods. So we're getting that education out there that as much as the pods are easier to spot and maybe easier to remove, that the real kind of threat of the plant is in those vines. And we're getting people that are, they have competed in the competition for a few years now and have gone back to the same location where they've always collected pods and not finding pods, but are collecting all of the seedlings that are popping up. So that's a real big success. And then, just the fact that, and it's a conservative number, but that this year the competition helped remove 2,132,584,600 potential moth plant seeds. I had to make sure I say that one properly. So it's just, it's a huge number. And for this area especially, the moth plant is kind of the gateway plant. As soon as it's kind of the first step, someone who might be new to conservation or kind of environmentalism will get involved in the moth plant competition because, they think it's fun and there are, prize awards or money awards. But then from there, it kind of stems a bit of passion for looking after their environment, and it just kind of leads them on to those next steps.
Amazing.
So that's definitely a big success for us.
Cool. And for the listeners that don't know what a moth plant is, why are they so prolific?
So the moth plant, how do I explain it? It is often mistakenly compared to is it a choco? Yeah. It's a vine species that basically strangles anything it grows up against, which is often our native trees. It grows incredibly quickly and it kind of produces these big pods that are just filled with seeds. So I think on average there's around 700 seeds per pod. And when they burst, it's kind of like little dandelions. So they catch on the wind and just spread basically everywhere they can. The seeds can also lie dormant in the soil for a few years. So even though you think you might have removed a patch of moth plant, 1 year, you've got to keep coming back and check that it hasn't kind of re-sprouted. So it's a hard battle, but it's one that definitely the community across Howick Ward is getting behind. Yeah.
Very cool. And so we've talked about a great success. Has there been anything that hasn't quite worked out that the organisation has tried?
I wouldn't say maybe not worked out. It's a hard one, and I kind of touched on earlier. The stats show that we need 1 in 5 households backyard trapping to kind of make a real difference. And that's a hard number to reach. Yeah, we're definitely not close to that number, and it's tough. And you get people that kind of go, oh well, what's the point of me doing this if no one else around me is? And it can be demoralizing at times to feel that it's a kind of that never-ending battle, but it's one that you kind of just have to stay strong. And every day, every week, we're getting more people signing up to the project, so we are slowly increasing those traps and backyards. But it's a tough one.
Where can the listeners go if they want to get involved and help out?
So we are on Instagram, just as Pest Free Howick Ward. We are on Facebook, again, Pest Free Howick Ward. And I'm really proud of our website that Nigel, our team member, has kind of really driven us to create. So there's a heap of information on our website, again, Pest Free Howick. Yeah, lots of ways to get involved. It's informative. You can sign up for traps. We've got a newsletter that we send out kind of each quarter. Yeah, there's heaps of ways. But yeah, social media, I believe we're on WeChat as well for our Chinese community. Search Pest Free Howick Ward and we should pop up.
Cool. And I'll leave the links for all of that in the description wherever this is published as well.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
That sounds good. Do you have any advice for anyone that wants to kind of get into conservation? What would you say that they should do?
Anything. I think sometimes people can be overwhelmed with the big steps that they think they need to take. And it's the accumulation of those small steps is, just start small. If you live in Howick Ward, sign up for a rat trap. We'll get one delivered to you. It's incredibly easy, and as much as people think they don't have rats in their backyard, I promise you do. We also have chew cards available, so if you're not quite convinced that you want that trap just yet, we can kind of deliver a chew card to you, and that will most likely show you that you do have rats in your backyard. But that's like a way, to see what you do have. Start small. If you're unsure about what weeds you might have in your backyard, just let us know and we can drop off some information. Start by removing those. Get involved in the moth plant competition if you are at school. If you're a teacher and you're keen to be part of our cadetship, just get in touch. Yeah, just anything really. There's kind of no action that's too small. Yes, that would be my advice.
Cool. Amazing.
Awesome.
All right, well,
thank you.
Thank you, Abby.
Thanks, Jordan.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to my conversation with Abby. I hope you've enjoyed learning all about the Pest Free Howick Ward. And yeah, it is a little bit of a different sort of organization than the previous projects that I've had conversations with, being in an urban environment. There's unique challenges and different solutions that can be made when you have such a huge number of people living in the vicinity compared to a pest-free island, for example. So super interesting to learn that side of things. And I just want to do a quick call out to those of you that work in conservation, or if you know somebody that does, please get in touch with me because I'd love to sit down with you and have a conversation about what you're doing, because it is rather tricky for me to continue locking in these episodes and continue pushing these out on this weekly basis, because it's just me by myself. Super hard to reach out, schedule in episodes, and even just the travel to get there and all of that. So any help from you would be greatly appreciated. That's all for now. I hope you're enjoying this show so far, and I look forward to what episodes I can push out in the future. Cool. Bye-bye.